So good morning, everyone. Good evening, afternoon, wherever you are. Having a lot of fun on the chat there. Before I get into the US CAD analysis, we do have some news to be released later today. And also with the Canadian, we do have the CPI number for next week. So I'll guide you through that. But before we do that, there are a lot of questions about how do you improve as a retail trader, as a part-time trader. What are the steps that you can do? Sure, it's all about finding the right way to get into a trade. What's a good trade to get into? What is a strategy to get into a good trade? But a lot of it is not just about where to get into a trade, right? It's not just about where to get into a trade. It's also when to get out of a trade. When do you close a trade? A lot of times everyone focuses on getting into a trade. They forget about getting out of a trade. But that's also a third part into how do you improve as a trader. The third part is really to review your own analysis, to review what you have done before, and then also to adjust, to realize what kind of trades that you're more comfortable with, and then to adjust your trades or to adjust your analysis from that point onwards. So this is something that I do quite often for myself, and I'll just share it with you now as well, is that on a weekly basis, what I do is I would go into the charts. For example, with the Aussie US here, I'll go in every week, I'll go into my charts and I'll start looking to think about, my trigger levels. Were they tight enough? Were they accurate enough? My stop loss levels, would they have been reasonable? And then also as the analysis in general, whether it's a sound analysis. So what you see here is just a quick recap of what we've done over the week. The Aussie US on H4 time frame, we're anticipating with the news to be released, it could either at that 7395 level break significantly downwards or upwards. It hasn't done too much. So what you should get at this point is that not a lot of movements for the Aussie dollar. So if you have been hitting out a lot of trades, if you've been doing a lot of trades on the Aussie, it might be a cause of concern. That means that you're trying to squeeze out too many trades. You're forcing trades rather than letting the market tell you what to do. Same thing with the New Zealand US dollar. I was saying that it was going to come down, test the 7073 before bouncing back up. I would say that that analysis is still somewhat valid because it's been testing. It's still testing that support level. I'm just waiting for it to see whether it will bounce up. Given what Scott was just sharing with you about the dollar index, we might see possibly even some weakness for the dollar that could push the New Zealand dollar towards the upside. I'm super happy about the Euro US, where I did the analysis saying that it would test 1.19. Hasn't done that too much, but it has come down almost towards, at that point, as I was saying, selling opportunity, almost towards the 1.1766 level. It's got down about that 70 pip towards the downside for the euro dollar. Euro pound has moved exactly as planned. When I shared with you this on Wednesday, we said that if it breaks below that 8580 level, it would go towards that 8538 support. It's done that exactly. And at that point, I would say if you haven't jumped into the trade, it's too late now. It looks like it's going to be supported at this point. I'm anticipating a next move. So the next analysis should come in for the euro pound. Following on from that, the pound dollar, look at that. That's moved picture perfect, tested 1.3747 and bounced up towards that 1.3870 resistance level. Okay, so this is where you look at it and go, okay, I'm happy with my analysis. It jumped a little bit earlier than anticipated, but with that trigger levels, with anticipating those price levels that I want to be looking to buy, I would still have caught on to that trade. So gaining that confidence in your analysis is actually very crucial when you're trading, especially when you're sitting alone trading at home. The US yen, same thing, came down towards the 109.76 level, at the support level right now. I think that we might see a little bit of a bounce up, but because we're towards the end of the week, I would say leave that possible next trade towards next week to as a next week's adventure from that point. Euro yen didn't move across as much, but has gone down to exactly what we were saying. I didn't think that it would go all the way to that 100 pips, but it has come down that 50 pips, which I highlighted to you. That was your 1:1 risk reward ratio towards the downside for the euro yen. And then pound yen, look at this. Shared with you this yesterday, saying that there was possibly some good opportunities. Straight away, almost straight away, we've seen that 50 pip move upwards. I think that we might see some further upside at this point, but be careful what happens at about 152.28. If it does break above, then we could see further upside, but you probably have to wait for that trigger level before you want to jump into any trades from this point onwards. So this is very quickly how you should be taking on your improvements towards your trading journey. Not just focus on where to get into a trade, not just think about how much profits or worst case scenario losses that you've made when you exit the trade, but the improvement comes when you're reviewing your analysis, reviewing your trigger points, reviewing all the work you have done for the week. That's where you really see that improvements and that consistency in your trading in the longer term.